everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm going to be reading this summer. I am on a mission this summer, you know. It's been a long couple of years and I'm finally starting to feel better and I finally feel like I have reinvented myself, quote unquote. So as I was picking up the books for this TBR, I was just really excited about them. These are books that I just think are going to be so much fun. Like, it's all contemporary, but I just think this is going to be a blast to read these. I have been spending all of my time sitting by the pool and I plan on doing that for the rest of the summer. Like, the next few months, that is going to be pretty much the only place you'll be able to find me, and I think these books are going to be perfect for those vibes. I'm just out here trying to have a hot book summer, a hot girl summer, and I think that these books are going to get me there. Honestly, lately, when I've been like having free time, because I've been so tired, I haven't been picking up books. I haven't really been going to read in my free time, and I'm working on fixing that and kind of resetting, if you will, my book routine, my reading routine. I feel like my tripod is crooked. Let me just figure this out. Is it, or is it just me? Maybe it's just me, I don't really know. But anyways, let's just get to the books that I'm hoping to read. So first up, we have Something to Talk About by Meryl Weisner. This book is about a showrunner and her assistant, and they give the world something to talk about when they accidentally fuel a ridiculous rumor, and it is a debut romance. I actually got this book because I had kind of been seeing it everywhere, didn't really know that much about it, but it looked really intriguing. So it's definitely one that I'm going into not really knowing a lot, but I think that it will be one that I'll be pleasantly surprised by with that. So we follow Jo. She is a Hollywood powerhouse and she's photographed making her assistant, Emma, laugh on the red carpet. So then everyone declares the two of them a couple, and it's like a so-called scandal, and it couldn't come at a worse time because it's actually threatening Emma's promotion in Jo's new movie. So this gossip spreads and it starts to affect everything in their lives. They're dealing with paparazzi, and then co-workers are actually treating them differently, and a source is feeding information to the media, but their only comment is no comment. So with the launch of Jo's film fast approaching, the two of them begin to spend even more time together and start to realize that they get along very, very well. And pretty soon they realize that the rumor might not be so off base after all. Oh, that sounds really, really fun. Next up is The Layover by Lacey Walden. Does this cover just not scream summer to you? Like, it makes me want to be on a beach, to be relaxing, just feeling all of those summer vibes. The first couple of books I actually just got in the mail, so I apologize for like reading the back of them, but I just kind of went on a book shopping spree, to be honest, and this is the result. So an unexpected layover with her nemesis turns a flight attendant, that's fun, but it turns a flight attendant's life upside down in this witty, breezy, romantic comedy about life and love at 30,000 feet in the air. So it's a weekend layover at a luxury resort in paradise in Belize. I think that sounds so amazing. We've got some enemies to lovers going on here, which I tend to be a little bit divided on, but I'm hoping that I will enjoy this one. And next is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hochul. I actually have two Sarah Hochul books here, so I have Twice Shy as well, and I've had Twice Shy for a while, but You Deserve Each Other is the one that I have been seeing pretty much everywhere. I understand why I've been seeing this one on TikTok a lot, because it is an enemies to lovers story, and TikTok really loves enemies to lovers. I mean, a lot of people in general love like hate to lover, enemies to lovers. Not entirely my thing, but I do respect it. There are some that I like. So this one is about when your nemesis also happens to be your fiance. Happily Ever After becomes a lot more complicated in this wickedly funny lovers to enemies to lovers romantic comedy debut. Lovers to enemies to lovers, that's a lot. Oh, so okay, so they were a couple, like perfect fiance, but then the wedding deposit is actually non-refundable and they spent so much money that they decide to like go through with it. That's what it seems. Very interesting. And then Twice Shy is actually set in the Smoky Mountains. I honestly have no idea where that is, but it is set in the Smoky Mountains at like this fixer-upper cabin that the main character goes to. She inherits this cabin from her great aunt who has passed away, and she realizes that it might actually be the opportunity for a fresh start that she's been looking for. Next is Always Jane by Jen Bennett. I have read all of Jen Bennett's novels except for The Lady Rogue up until now, but I've read all of her contemporaries and I've really enjoyed them. I think she's a great author, pretty underrated, definitely great for fans of Morgan Matson. So I think that her romances are perfect for summertime. They definitely take me away. And in this case, this one is following a chauffeur's daughter. So she ends up having this romance with the son of a legendary music producer. And I believe that this one is also an enemies to lovers sort of deal, but we'll see. Kind of switching gears here a little bit. Next up is The Summer of Lost Letters by Hannah Reynolds. So this is definitely going to be a little bit more of an emotional story, but I think it seems really, really good. So the main character, her grandmother has just died, and they end up discovering this box of love letters from a mysterious guy named Edward. So she's reading these letters and discovering more about her grandmother's past, and that's something she didn't know a lot about because she knows that her grandmother was alive during World War II and fled during the Holocaust, and she was very private about everything else, so she's learning more about the experience that her grandmother went through. This definitely reminds me of, I can't think of what the title is, but I can totally picture the cover right now. But there's a book that came out a couple of years ago that was following kind of a similar story. It was a character went to this like apartment in Paris that her grandmother had, and she didn't know that it existed. And through that, she learns and is like, part of it was the perspective of her grandmother during World War II in Nazi occupied France. But this one, I'm not sure if it's going between the two perspectives or if it's just kind of in the letters. I don't know, but I was a little bit let down by that other book. I had wanted to love it a lot more, so I'm hoping that this one will be more successful and I will like it because it does seem like something I would really enjoy. Next is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. So you guys know by now, both my sisters are getting married. I know I keep on saying it, but it's very like time consuming and also expensive, but very time consuming. So I have been in like a wedding mood, all of the wedding vibes and everything. And it's really funny to me because growing up, I'm the youngest of my generation on both sides of my family, my mom and my dad's side. And there's also like a pretty large age gap between a lot of my cousins. I have tons of cousins, but with such a big family and having older cousins, I was always going, like we were always going to weddings growing up. We were always going to our cousins' weddings. And I always thought about like when it would be our turn one day, and it's just like really lovely. My sisters are getting their chance. I'm very excited for it. But anyways, that's why all the wedding vibes, like I can definitely, it makes me laugh when people say they've never been to a wedding because I've been to literally so many I could not even count. So that being said, I definitely am like wanting to read a lot of wedding related books, and that's exactly what we get here. This book is following a wedding planner, and she has to work with the best man from her own failed wedding. She was actually left at the altar, but she has to work with the best man from her own failed wedding to try and essentially take on this opportunity that could completely change her life and her career. Definitely not an ideal situation, but also really intriguing. Next up is You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. I apologize for my pronunciation of hola. I have never learned Spanish, but this book I've had forever. Like I've had it since it came out, and that was quite a while ago now. This author definitely has one other book. I'm not sure if there's two others, but she definitely has multiple now, and this is one that I've really been wanting to get to. It's a telenovela romance, and you follow two characters who are actors in a telenovela, and they start to fall for each other. So I'm expecting drama. I'm expecting just a really, really great escapist summer read. Next up is Hannah Khan Carries On by Uzma Jalaluddin. I have been dying to get to this book, and I'm hoping that I like it because I love the finished copy's cover. I just haven't picked it up yet because I have the ARC and it seems kind of wasteful, but if I do enjoy it, then I will donate this copy and I will get myself the finished copy because it's like holographic. It just looks beautiful. But this is actually a romance rom-com story set between two competing halal restaurants. I just love the concept of that. It sounds absolutely incredible, like so cute. I love food. I love like reading about food, and I have a lot of different food-based books, and food-based romances especially. That sounds like a recipe for success, if you will. Next book I have just seen everywhere, and it has made me feel like I'm like not in on a joke or not in on something. Not that the book is a joke, but you know what I mean? Like I just want to know what all the buzz is about. And that book is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. So this is by a Canadian author, which is amazing, and it is also set in Canada. It is set in cottage country, Ontario, around Toronto, and I just am like I want to read that. I want every part of it. And it's also a book that is told the cat's gonna jump down, so you might hear a thud, by the way. Yes, she was on my desk just cleaning herself in front of the monitor. But anyways, this is set over the course of 6 different summers. We have 6 summers to fall in love, 1 moment to fall apart, and a weekend to get it right. So it's told over the course of 6 years in the past and 1 weekend in the present. And it is a gorgeously romantic look at love and the people and choices that mark us forever. I just love that. I love when books span a long period of time like that and are kind of jumping between, because I feel like it gives me a really well-rounded picture of the characters and the relationship, and I'm able to really get into it. So I'm thinking that that is what is going to happen with this one. I feel like my expectations are really high, and I'm hoping it's not going to let me down. Next is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Speaking of some pretty high expectations, I really love Christina Lauren. I'm a huge fan. They are my favorite romance author duo, and this is the latest book by them. This one is about a treasure hunter's daughter, and she has been like using these maps that were hand-drawn from her dad to give these guided tours around Utah. Like, that has just been how she has been making a living. And this is the story of a second chance romance for her, and it's between her and an ex, so seems very interesting. Next we have, of course, 4 Aunties and a Wedding by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is the sequel to, what is it called? Dial A for Aunties. Sorry, I just had like a brain fart there, but this I have been wanting to read for so long. I definitely want to listen to the audiobook because I actually was alternating between the audiobook and physically reading the first book, but I thought the audiobook was just super enjoyable, so it's definitely how I would prefer to consume this story. This one, I think it's set at a wedding. Since it's a sequel, I haven't really looked. I just know that I have really high expectations. Since I enjoyed the first book so much, I think this will be a lot of fun. Next up is The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. This sounds like a really cute book, and definitely like all of the summer vibes are happening on this cover. This is the first adult book by this author also, because I've actually read one of their YA books, and then I actually have another one on my TBR. So like her YA books, this book is also following an asexual main character, and it is like a twisted web of romances and attraction going on here. So I really need to just read this one. Joy is in love with Malcolm, and Malcolm wants to date Summer, and Summer is in love with Love, and Fox is Summer's ex-boyfriend. And there's just like a lot of things happening there, obviously. And then we have this weekend getaway with all of these characters. You just know there's going to be drama. Next is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. So I feel like a lot of YA authors have been making their way into the adult/romance space, and that is definitely the case with these 2 authors. And I'm really excited for this one. They have written like 4 books. They are still writing in YA because I have one of their YA books, but that's a recent release, that is. But this is about co-authors who used to write together all the time, and then they ended up getting divorced like they were married, which is funny because the authors of this book, they're actually a couple, but they end up having to actually come together to write one last book, and obviously like you kind of know how that's gonna turn out. And finally is Tokyo Dreaming by Miko Jean. This is just like the perfect summer poolside read because it is light and fluffy and easy, not a lot going on, just a really solid, enjoyable read. And that's just like, I'm assuming it's going to be like Tokyo Ever After, which I read last year and completely fell in love with. And this is the sequel. This one is set at a wedding, and I don't know who's getting married. I don't know anything, but I just know I love the first book so much that like I need to read this one. Okay, so those are all of the books that I am hoping to read this summer. I mean, obviously I'm hoping to read more than that, but these are kind of the heavy hitters that are sticking out to me right now. We'll see, because my mood changes on a whim, but I'm thinking I will get to a decent amount of these. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another new one soon. Bye!